What's up, guys? Alright, so I wanted to talk about something that just popped up into my head, and I felt that I haven't talked about it before. So, I kind of wanted to talk about certain concepts that float around in philosophy and mysticism. And I have one right on the top of my head, and hopefully some others come in so I could, you know, I have a little bit more to talk about. But right now, I really want to talk about the collective, like the unconscious and the collective unconscious. So when we think about the unconscious, we're talking about things that we are unaware of. So, um, if you've seen my other videos, I've talked about the straight line from experience to action, right? So you have an experience. This experience is, Jesus. All right. So, okay, so you have an experience. This experience gets interpreted based off of past experiences. So depending on your personality, which was a development based on all of these past experiences, that causes you to interpret this new experience in a specific type of way. And that interpretation leads to certain thoughts and feelings. And when those thoughts and feelings are either challenged or reinforced, they develop into loose or strong beliefs. Now, uh, loose beliefs can guide you towards an action, but usually the stronger beliefs are going to overwhelm the looser beliefs. So usually your strongest beliefs are what's going to make the decision for you. Now, these strong beliefs cause you to behave in a certain way and act in a certain way and choose certain decisions in a certain way. And that action leads you to a new experience that either reinforces or challenges this entire line that came before doing the action. Now, sometimes this whole line is you're completely unaware of it, and you feel like you're just doing stuff. But there is things like there's these internal and external influences that are leading you to act in that way and choose that particular decision. Um, right. So now this leads me to the unconscious, because big components that are here, some feelings are unconscious where you felt it, but either through denial or just unaware, like being unaware, or maybe other components that caused you to bury that feeling or that thought or that belief. Like you might have a belief that you suppress because your religion tells you that it's wrong to believe that. So there's all these types of things, and then some of these components ends up getting buried in your subconscious, and then your subconscious starts making decisions for you without you knowing, because you're sort of blinding yourself to what's there. And along for the ride are these vices and faults and hang-ups and quirky, whatever the hells you want to call them, these little things that are part of your shadow that you blind yourself to because you don't want to accept that it's you, or that you don't want to accept that it's there, because it's not necessarily that it is you, but it just happens to be there in some sort of manner. And all of this stuff gets caught up in this unconscious realm, and it either shows up in bursts, it might show up in certain decisions, it might show up in all these different ways. So becoming aware of the subconscious and bringing it into the conscious would allow you to have more information about you and these things that are within you, which would give you more control over your actions and beliefs and so on and so on. But now the collective unconscious is postulating that all minds are somehow linked together. At least this is how some people present it, where there's some sort of thing, like some sort of field that connects us all, and we're sort of engaging mentally without knowing it. Now, there are explanations that make this seem possible, but I can't truly tell you that this is absolute, because there's nothing like really meaty, like something like some sort of meat that I can really sink my teeth into and say, yeah, this is true. But that doesn't mean that the collective unconscious isn't real. Now, my explanation of the collective unconscious is not something where my mind and your mind are connected in some type of way. It's more of external influences that we both experienced. So, for instance, if you go into America and you line up 100 people and show them a cross, all of them are going to tell you what it is. Unless they were living under a rock, most likely all 100 people, regardless of what religion they practice, if they live in America, they know what a cross is. Um, Likewise, you go to India and you show them the symbol, and you're going to get the same reaction. And then when we look planetary, like on a planetary level, most likely if you show a cross to people in India, they will know what that is. If you show the symbol to people in America, they would know what that is. So the symbol of the cross and the symbol of the symbol is something that is in our collective unconscious. This is something that through our reading and watching and listening, we have integrated this symbol into our minds as a collective, and now we all possess this information. So this is the collective unconscious. So likewise, so similarly, we're going to have many things that are within our collective unconscious, and it fractions, not fractal, but it separates, it like branches off, where certain symbols will be known to certain groups and not known to other groups. So then you have smaller collective unconsciouses where this is a collective, but not a global collective. It's more of a focal collective, where this group all knows this piece of information and they've integrated that piece of information. So within that group, that piece of information is a part of their collective unconscious, but it might not be a part of somebody else's from a different group. So this gives us the awareness, this allows me to present this as an awareness that the collective unconscious is real. It's just not as spiritual or metaphysical as people are led on to believe. It's more of the fact that through culture and society, we all have certain things imprinted into our minds, and for some of us, it's very well integrated. And this gives the appearance that there are things that are a part of my mind and also a part of your mind. But that doesn't necessarily mean that my mind and your mind are linked physically or in any other type of way. Not saying that this is impossible, just saying that the idea of the collective unconscious doesn't necessarily mean that. But for instance, there is a large group of people that if they're watching my video and they see Kalima behind me, they are now getting all of this information, and they can make all sorts of predictions and assumptions about me and what I believe based off of this information that's in our collective unconscious. But if some Christian that never knew anything about any other religion came across my video and saw that behind me, they probably would not understand what it is. And if they could clearly see that there is some sort of blue person with multiple arms and a sword and a hand in their hand, their idea might, their like basic understanding might lead them to believe that it's some sort of demon and that I'm some sort of demon worshiper. Now, for that person, they have a focal point, like a focal group, where there's going to be a decent amount of people that would perceive this in that way, and that's their small, micro collective unconscious, based off of, in this case, it would be because of ignorance. So yeah, so what can I really say about that? So what I would say is that the collective unconscious is real, just not as metaphysical as you would think it is, and this does provide information about something you could do about it and apply some sort of knowledge within your life to for a specific reason. Now, the more you learn about other cultures and societies and religions and philosophies and so on, you're pretty much broadening your pool, like your connection to the global collective unconscious. By you knowing, even if you're not into Hindu deities, simply by reading and understanding and knowing the symbology, understanding the stories, understanding how the religion works, even though you don't believe anything that I believe, you're still closer to the global collective unconscious, which allows you to which allows you to prevent yourself from making assumptions and rather make predictions and assessments. So that's something that I intend to do, that I attempt to do. I attempt to know as much as I possibly can about many different things, which allows me to show up in a random place, and simply by analyzing the things around me, I can sort of understand where these people are at because of my ability to engage with that collective unconscious. You know, if I show up in a random place and there's some sort of parade and I see skeletons and Mexican flags and blah blah blah, it's like, oh, Dia de los Muertos, and I can just swoop on in and have some fun. If I show up in another place, like some other area, and I see some sort of parade and there's some Hindu deities and, you know, all of this type of stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, let me see which deities they are. Oh, they're probably out of I can't pronounce none of the names, but out of Vedanta or Cosmoshiavism or blah 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 blah, and I would understand. Oh, that's what these people believe. I might believe what they believe, or I might not believe what they believe, but I understand. I can engage because I have access to this more ample what's the word? Collective unconscious. So having access to a much broad, like like to understand that you're a part of the collective unconscious, and to make that collective unconscious within yourself way wider and broader, and allow yourself to understand the full scope of all of the different paths, it will give you the ability to sort of engage with the world in a much more um, in a less sticky way, where you seem to be lost, right? It allows you to show up in any location within the U.S. and understand what type of people are these in the sense like, oh, okay, I'm in this part of the world. These are the type of people that I'm seeing simply by understanding the speech patterns and clothing and facial expressions and jewelry and blah 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 blah, and like the architecture of the area. You seeing a lot of Baptist church and Pentecostal church and some Masonic lodges and blah blah blah. Okay, I'm in this neck of the woods. I understand. I have the basics of what these people are like, and that allows you to engage in a way with them where you're not where you're not going to feel like the outsider. And this can be implemented in ways that are beneficial for you, because when you show up in a random place and you're obviously an outsider to an extent that people might be feeling a little defensive, that tints your experience. And if you're able to present yourself in a way where they can feel comfortable, because like, oh wait, oh you're like in a rural part in the South. You mentioned that you're from a big city. Oh, this is some big city guy, but you happen to understand what their culture, what their day-to-day life is like. You understand their ideologies and philosophies and religion, and you're like very familiar with this particular part of the world. They're like, wait, this guy is not that bad. And when both of you sort of see each other and you're not defensive, and you feel like, hey, I can get along with this person, that makes your day a lot better. So Yeah. So that, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I just wanted to mention that because I was talking to somebody and they were saying how, collective unconscious sounds so silly because how can your minds possibly be linked? If that was true, then, you know, like, how would there be secrets, right? How could a country keep a secret from another country if their minds are connected? They would, you wouldn't really need a CIA or an FBI or police because everybody would know exactly what everybody else is doing if your minds were connected, right? So, um, but in this case, it's not that our minds are connected, is that our minds are within the same reality and environment. So there's going to be a lot of components of my mind that are also in yours. All right, guys. See y'all later.